We're ready in five, four, three, two, one.
Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon. I'm not sure where you are, but I am delighted to be joining the Marathon of Excellence, and I know you're going to enjoy season two. I am so grateful to Shay and Trevor for putting this opportunity together for those visionaries to share their message with the world. Hi, my name is Kimle, and I'm the founder and owner of an organization called Positive Sisters. Now, before you brothers take off, I want you to know that SISTERS is merely an acronym for self-improvement, simply takes education, redevelopment, and sincerity. So self-improvement is something we all can benefit from in building our best lives ever, because we are entitled to experience our greatest selves. I'm excited because I get to participate in this series, and I've had a chance to really start putting some things together just for you so that you can take this experience even further. With the whole weekend, you should have some fun with this series. It's just going to be dynamic. So I would like to first share with you a little bit about me and why I do what I do. My whole platform is based on the premise of self-esteem and your self-worth. I want you to know you are worth it, you have value, and you matter. Now, you might say, why is that important? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I was a little black girl born in 1963, before black was beautiful. Now, you can imagine the climate of the United States. You have to just go back a little ways. Yes, I'm dating myself, but that's okay. 1963 was not a very good climate if you had dark skin. You got all the different criterias and the agendas and what was necessary if you wanted to have some level of success. So it didn't take me long as a young child to realize that I was going to have a few challenges. The unfortunate thing was I bought into that. And so the first 36 years of my life were lived under that verdict until I decided to break the chains that bind me and unleash my soul's essence. And that's the gift I want to give you in our conversation we're going to have today. So I want you to remember one thing before we even go any further, is that you matter. So I'm going to tell you a poem, a quote a poem that I quote, and go from memory as much as I can, but I just think it's going to kind of give you an indication of what my early childhood was like. And so I want you to know that I was black before black was beautiful. So compliments of me were not that plentiful. As a young child at the age of 3, it did not take me long to realize I was not deemed beautiful in others' eyes. The shame I carried for being so black were on these young shoulders like a heavy sack. I had few friends and my words were few, all because I was not born with lighter skin. At the age of 25, I decided it was I who had been misguided, taking other words and believing they determined who I would be. Trust me, from that moment, my life took a new plot. You see, I learned that my dark skin, my crooked and gap teeth were just merely the exterior of the true beauty that lies beneath. It is I who determine if I'm beautiful or not. And from that day, life took a brand new plot. So that was something as I wrote those words, and I don't recall all of it, but it reminds me of the painful experience I had as a young girl. And an experience that I wouldn't want any other woman, child, man, or boy to experience. Because what I learned in the midst of all of that was, I do have value. It doesn't matter what you experience. It doesn't matter what you go through in life. The true thing that matters is the decisions you'll make about yourself. So you might want to write this down. It's never what you experience. It's only what you decide about you that will impact your life. So I had to step into a new arena. And that arena was deciding that I would no longer live in the shadows, but I was going to step into the spotlight of my life. And what does that mean? Think about spotlight. I like to look at it as an acronym. SPOT is shifting positions of thinking. I had to shift positions on how I thought about myself. And because I did that, I wasn't able to step into the light or live in God's highest truth about me. And that's what I want you to know. You can live in the highest truth that God has spoken about you. So, the pain and the shame of the past does not determine who we are or who we may become. Now, that journey did not happen so simplistically. It actually happened with quite a bit of transformation. And how did I go from living in the shadows and stepping into the spotlight and becoming a speaker that there will be a time where I've never stood before a camera or stood before people without just being concerned with what are people going to think about me? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? But today I don't have those concerns. And it is a privilege to be here and share with you that you too can leave the pain of the past and step into your purpose and into the promise of your future. So the experience that I had that was my awakening, how did it happen for me, was I actually started a relationship. And that relationship was actually to a gentleman who lived in Chicago, Illinois, and I actually was residing in Detroit, Michigan, where I am now. And being a Christian woman, this was a Christian guy, and everyone said, that's the guy for you. Because I was so low in my value and worth, I just went along. And needless to say, that relationship did not materialize, but it left me in a very deep state of depression and in a world of darkness. But in the midst of that experience is when I discovered my message, a message of breaking the chains that bind you. No, I wasn't actually clad with physical chains, but the mental chains that had been holding me captive for so many years. All of a sudden, I began to be aware I could free myself. Why was that important? Because until you do, or until I did, I was just held into the past of my childhood. And in the midst of me having that awful experience in the relationship, I learned out of the pain, I had literally birthed a new purpose for my life. I began to share a message that you had value, that you matter, and that you can unleash your soul's essence and live in the spotlight. That was not an easy journey, but one that came with such a price, I will cherish my life forever. And you know what? If it had not happened, I would not be standing here today. So I have learned to embrace the pain, and I also teach others to do the same, because in the midst of the pain, you birth your purpose and your promise of your passion, your power, and of course your prosperity. So when I left Chicago, I came back to Detroit. There was one thing I knew I wanted to do, and that was to start living a life that I had designed. I didn't know where to begin. And so I began to think, what is just one thing I know I love doing? And that one thing was learning. So when I returned in 1994, I enrolled in a community college. And from that experience, life began to unfold and evolve until I became the person you see today. I started at the community college. No one in my family had attended any college. So I was very excited, but also nervous. You know, I had not been in school for many years, and I was wondering, can I do it? But what I learned in the process of that experience is when you set your focus and you set your vision, you can truly create whatever you desire. So the way that process began for me is I attended the first semester and I had applied for this scholarship. And this scholarship was called the Returning Women's Scholarship. Here I was in my early 30s returning to college. And I called from that October to the end of that semester, hey, I'm calling about the scholarship. Never got a response, only voicemail, and no return calls. So I enrolled the next semester in the community college, but my mind was set on going to this university. I literally used the process of creative visualization. And I actually went to the university, walking through several business buildings where they offer classes, seeing myself enrolled at this university. Well, time passed, and now it's May, spring of the next year, and still no response. And I started a temp job working as a legal assistant, and I'm going through the Rolodex, and I came across the business card for Wayne State Law School. I'm like, let me give that woman a call. So I dialed the number, and I will never forget this moment. As the phone was ringing, someone answered, and they said, "Good afternoon. This is Kay Hartley." I will always remember this lady because she literally changed my life. I said, "I've been calling, asked about the scholarship. I'm very interested in enrolling in the school there, and I was wanting to see if I had been accepted so I could know when to start." And she said, "Let me check your name." I gave her my name, and she says, "Oh my God, we mailed correspondence to you some time ago. As a matter of fact, you need to come today and get enrolled or you're going to forfeit the scholarship. This is the last day of enrollment." My heart began to beat. I'm thinking, oh my God, I cannot blow this experience. I've set this as my intention. I know I want this experience. Well, I went and told my boss I had to leave. Either I used the scholarship that day or I would lose it. I scurried down to the campus. By this time, it's 3:30 in the afternoon, so I'm in the midst of rush hour traffic. I did not get there until well after 4, and I had until 6 p.m. to make this happen. And the beauty of the story is, I get there, she has everything laid out, but you have to register just like anyone else. Even though I had the scholarship, I still have to go through this whole process. I don't even know what to do. So I'm asking people, where do you get the books? Where do you get the class schedule? Everything I need to know. I had to spend the longest time in her office just to get my scholarship process. She gave me my documents, paperwork, said, "Now go get enrolled, hurry up. You got to get done before 6 o'clock. By this time, it's a little before 5. I have just about an hour. I walked into the building, and there's this long, long line. When I say a long, long line, remember, this is the last day of registration. So I'm standing there, and I'm waiting, and the clock is ticking, and I'm getting nervous. And I started saying, "Now, God, I know you didn't bring me this far for me to forfeit this wonderful opportunity. I've set my vision. I've prayed on this. I know this is my next step. I'm waiting. I'm getting anxious. My palms are sweating, but I'm waiting. The line is long. There's tons of people ahead of me." And so I'm checking with the guys in line behind me. "Hey, do I have everything signed out?" I'm like, "I just need 2 classes. Since I'm working, I'm taking the first 2. That's in the evening. I only needed 6 credits. I'm all set. I got everything filled out to the best of my ability with everyone's help, and I'm waiting. Now it's past 5:30. There's probably about 30 people ahead of me, and I'm waiting. Oh, my God. And I'm just saying this soft prayer. "God, I know what you said I can do." I'm holding on to that promise. The time is going on, and now it's almost 20 to 6. And there's about 20 people ahead of me. And all of a sudden, this young man kind of looks over his shoulder. He does a double take. And I'm thinking, maybe he saw my paper, so I asked, "Is everything in order? The last thing I want to do is get up there and I'll have everything I need." And he says, "No, everything is in order, but let me see that pink slip." He says, "That's your scholarship. That means your classes are paid for. You could just go right to the class and get registered. Go to the next line." So I scurry out of that line over to the front of the next line. There's maybe about 5 people. It's about 10 to 5. Thankfully, it's going pretty fast. We're getting those people registered, and I get called to the front, and I register for my 2 classes. I'll never forget it. World History and Humanities 101. I get my paperwork. I get all my confirmation. I close up all the book, and I just start thanking God. I knew you were not going to let this not happen for me. And I just knew that was the beginning of something new, but it exceeded anything I can imagine. Not only did I continue to my education at the university, I was able to complete all of my studies in a mere 4 years. I went to school spring, summer, fall, completing everything I needed to do. After I graduated, I landed an amazing job in marketing, which is my career and my degree. Worked at amazing companies like J.D. Powers and Associates, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, clients like the Ford Motor Companies. So I was excited on my path. I was changing my destiny. I was no longer living in the shadows. I learned in that experience that day that you can shift what you believe about yourself and have a new experience. I could have held on to my old programming that I'm not worth it, I'm not good enough. Look at you, going back to school after 13 years. You might not be smart enough. I couldn't hold on to those thoughts if I wanted to have the new experience, if I wanted to get unstuck and live my destiny. So in this whole series, you're probably going to hear a lot of people talking about live your purpose, live your destiny, live your best life. But how do we do it? I gave you an example. I came out of the depths of despair and began to move in a new direction. But what were those steps that I took? And that's what I want to share with you today. You see, many times we get stuck in life, but you can't get unstuck if you don't know how you got stuck. So the first thing I want to go through is talk about how do you get unstuck, but what made us get stuck in the first place. So we're going to use stuck, S-T-U-C-K as an acronym. I love acronyms, as you'll know, with Live in the Spotlight and everything else that I do, Positive Sisters. I like acronyms because they help us get the message. But when you think about being stuck, we get stuck in life in that small image of ourselves because first and foremost, we sever our heart connection. We sever our true desire, and we get so busy. This is what I did, trying to please everybody else. I wanted validation so bad, I would do anything. And I want you to think about this. Write this down. No one's validation is required for my success but mine. Write that down and know that. Take that to heart. That was one of the biggest lessons I had to learn. I could no longer sever my connection to myself, spending time serving others. That's what the T stands for. Taking your precious time and serving everyone else. I exhausted myself, completely depleted everything, trying to do everything for everyone else. I had to literally learn how to say no. And I also had to learn to embrace the word no. Because in the word enormous, N-O is the second and third letter. And if you're in pursuit of an enormous life that you want to build for yourself, you have to get willing to say no. No to others, accept some no's, but keep it moving. The other letter, the next letter is U. You have to start using your time for yourself and stop undermining your vision, your goals, and your aspirations. As I said, I was in my early 30s before I began to just pursue a path of interest for myself, always trying to look somewhere else, hoping someone could fill that void and make me worthy. I learned I am worthy, and I became the queen of self-esteem. Write that down. I am full of all the esteem I need for my vision, because it takes a healthy dose of self-esteem to fulfill your life's mission. To move on through the letters, we come to C. What does that C stand for? It means stop allowing yourself to stay challenged and connected to the negativity that other people have said about you. I learned that all the definitions that were given to me meant nothing until I had embraced them as my truth. And so C is to break that connection. Clear it out. Stop being associated with negativity. No longer connect to it. And look at what you say for yourself. An example was me going to school, creating that entire experience, getting a scholarship, all expense paid, because I began to follow my destiny, the destiny that was etched in the DNA of every cell of my fibers of my being. When I begin to say, I will live my life, I will live my vision, I will set my goals, and I will serve God's purpose for me, it began to change and shift. And that last letter K of stuck, things that keep us locked in the past, is when we keep company with people who do not have our best interests. Now, they may know your talent and your skill, but they're using it to benefit them versus to support, uplift, and motivate you towards your level of excellence. So if you want to get unstuck, you can no longer use these practices of being severed from your own heart's desires. Continue to take time to serve others instead of your own dreams. Undermining your vision and your goals, trying to be validated by others. Continuing to connect to the negativity others are saying and trying to validate yourself. And keeping the wrong company with the negative people that do not motivate and uplift you. Until you do that, you will remain stuck and will not have a chance to unleash yourself from those chains of yesteryear. You see, the pain we experience serves a purpose. It birthed the purpose of my life of becoming the founder and the owner of Positive Sisters, inspiring people to move into improving their lives by just educating and redeveloping their thinking so they could truly step into the spotlight, shift positions of thinking, and living God's highest truth about them. One of the things I want you to know is recently I co-authored a book with 28 others. It's a compilation called I Am, Love, Wisdom, and Guidance Through Soul Reflection. And in this project, we made this book available so that people around the world can know, no matter what happened in the past, no matter what painful experience you have had, it does not define your future. Write that down. Your past does not define your future. And I am a living example of that. So this book, you can actually get a copy on my website, which is www.positivesisters.com. On the event page, you'll see how you can get a copy of that. And you can begin to remind yourself that you can create a new vision of who you will be. Your I amness is defined by you and not the circumstances. In addition to that, I want to offer you a free gift, because until you start this new process of thinking, you cannot break those chains. So I'm giving you a free gift by visiting my website, www.unleashyoursoulsessence.com/offer. Again, www.unleashyoursoulsessence.com/offer. And you will get 9 keys to help you begin shifting your thinking and identifying with what God has said about you, so you can live your best life, a life that you have crafted and designed because you stepped into your destiny, your purpose that you allowed to emerge and be birthed from the pains of yesteryear. You see, when you start moving from that place in your life, your destiny, you're now following God's agenda. And I heard today in one of my radio broadcasts earlier, my guest said, you know, when you follow God's agenda, then He keeps yours. But if you live and just do your agenda, you abide alone. You see, what I began to do is when I stepped out of the shadows and into the light of what my destiny was, what my vision was, I began to nurture and embrace my mission and not try and validate myself by helping others. I begin to emerge as a whole new individual. And my gifts, my visions, they begin to grow and expand beyond anything I had even imagined. You know, things like awards for the work I do. Like I said, promotions in every job that I landed after educating myself much later in life. And that opportunity is available for you. Maybe you were not challenged with the color of your skin. And maybe the pain of your past that caused you to put on those mental chains had to do with something else. But the moral of the story is you can step into the spotlight of your life and live in what God has said about you. You don't have to live according to the terms of what others said. My mom, my friends, and all the people of yesteryear, I'm sure some of them meant well. My mom, when she would say, oh, that color is not the best hue for you, or you might be too dark for that. She didn't mean any harm. She didn't understand the message that was just locking me in was what I can't do. And what I learned in this process that I want you to know is that you can break out of those chains. Nothing can hold you back unless you agree to it. It is always your decision that determines your destiny. Write that down. It is my decision that determines my destiny, not the experience, only the decision you made about yourself. There's one other thing I want to leave with you before I close in this segment, and that is when you know your worth, your value, that's when you begin to experience greater net worth. You will never, ever earn more. You will never, ever receive more than what you believe you're worth. So one of my programs is transforming your self-worth into net worth. And I use my own life experiences and let you see how I was able to elevate my value and my worth and also experience that same self-worth transferring into net worth monetarily. If you have visions and dreams and goals that you want to achieve and you're experiencing challenges, examine your net worth. Examine your self-worth, because that's what's holding back your net worth. As a result of this growth and transformation, not only did I start the Positive Sisters business, but I've been able to actually start a real estate business, a coaching business, doing mentoring and consulting for businesses, helping people know that when you step into your destiny and your own worth, your business will flourish to the same degree. And that's what's important for you if you want to live your destiny. Because for each of us, there is a destiny etched in every cell of our beings. But we have to get unstuck. We have to release the chains, let them fall away, let the shackles go, and live in God's highest truth concerning you. It's time to shift over and begin anew. Know your value, know your worth, and know that your self-worth will ultimately become your net worth. My name is Kimle, and it has been an honor and a delight to share with you how you too can step into your greatness and step into your worth, because that's what God has said about you. So break the shackles, break the chains, and step to the spotlight of your life. I'm Kimle Naylor, founder of Positive Sisters, helping you move into a life of self-improvement that evolves into a life of self-worth and net worth. Thank you for taking time to join us.